What's up, people? I am back for another video. Today we are roasting Blue Beetle. I wasn't even gonna watch this, but then there's like a part of me that's like, I'm a DC guy, and it makes sense me covering this. So, and I'll watch a lot of those DCU movies, and basically it's coming to an end now. So, it kind of makes sense I cover it. So, I didn't watch this in theaters, but man. I thought, I just had no interest, because I'm going to be honest, I was never really a fan of the character. I like the Ted Core version, okay, but he was just, to me, always just kind of there. I more know him from, Injustice 2. That's the version I know. But I think I wasn't, the trailer could have looked all right, initially when I watched the trailer when it came out, back, I think it was, April. It was pretty bad. It wasn't horrible, but I was like, okay, this just looks generic. This looks like AI created superhero movie, and it kind of is, and I'd still say that. But then they threw in that cringy Batman's a fascist line in there, and you got weirdos who try to defend it like it's just a joke. Even in context of the movie, it makes no sense because the joke basically was supposed to prop up, fucking Blue Beetle, because Rudy, Jaime's uncle, is a Blue Beetle fan, and he called Batman, and I would have rather him even just said Batman's gay or something, and say he's gay and I prefer Blue Beetle, something like that. That would have made more sense than calling him a fascist out of nowhere. Anyway. The whole movie, it's just, besides, the forced racism, literally every scene, there is, they have to force a scene. For example, when, they first see Victoria, Jaime and his sister says something like, oh, she doesn't talk to people like us, because even though she was on the phone, and, because I guess he, said hi to her, and she's on the phone, but and I know she's the villain, but it's they wrote it's shit like that. There's a scene where he goes for an interview at Court Industries, and this is the one that's just, it's so cringy because no one would fucking do this. He goes to the secretary basically, and says, "Oh, I'm here to see Jenny," and he's like, "Oh, deliveries?" It's even though he has no fucking box, he's in a suit. His hair's all slicked back and looks all done. But yeah, he's totally deliveries because that's how people talk. Jesus Christ. It's shit like that. It's what are we doing? And there's even a scene when, basically Court Industries, the villain, attacked Jaime's house because they were looking for the Scarab. And it looked like an ice raid. Clearly. You had people filming it. All the, Hispanic, the Mexican family looks all sad and oppressed. It's they were going for ice imagery there. It's so, dude, it was trying to fill a quota. It was they have to fill a quota of, we gotta have these kind of scenes. Because it's just out of nowhere. It's fucking, I'm gonna say it, it's fucking obnoxious. The amount of messaging is obnoxious. There's even a scene where, Jenny's talking to Jaime, and they're talking about, her father and why he passed it down to her father instead of, Victoria. Jenny said sexism, and it's she's the villain. Why would you want her in charge anyway? But it's but it's holy shit. It's little shit like that. And you could tell Susan Sarandon was just there for the money. She did not give a fuck. She was just there for the paycheck, bro. It was so obvious. The way she just would read lines, she's just even the faces she was making, you could kind of tell, she has this, let's just get this fucking over with so I can get my fucking money and be done. Because that's what this feels like. That's what it felt like her performance was in this. She, it was one of the most obvious, I don't give a fuck, I'm here for the money performances I've ever seen. The villain, Sarah Pox, he's the who works works for her, basically gets this OMAC suit, which this is the other problem, basically, besides like the obnoxious messaging. It is a boring movie. Like, it is very boring. It is very by the number. That's why I'm going to title this movie, It Has No Identity. This video, sorry. It has no identity. Blue Beetle has no identity because this movie is literally a million of other superhero movies you've fucking seen. Like that training scene in the beginning when he's first using his powers, that's Spider-Man 1 mixed with like Iron Man first using his suit. He has like even like the Iron Man POV vision, even the vision where you see his eyes talk. There's like Jarvis, even though it's a girl, but even the fucking AI tries to be witty like Jarvis is. It's literally and yeah, people can already, oh, well, that's the character, but I'm like, you did not have to literally make it that fucking blatant. Like, it's like, holy shit. This movie is just a ripoff of better movies. When you're that much of a ripoff, it just makes me like, okay, I just want to watch those movies now. I just want to watch Iron Man 1 or Spider-Man 1. Or even like the scene where they put the OMAC on, like in the back. And it's funny because I watched Spider-Man 2 the same day. It's like, it's literally like Doc Ock's like arms being put on his back. It's the same kind of shit. It's like, holy shit, man. Y'all really just blatantly copied it. It's like, holy shit, man. This is if like an AI wrote a superhero movie. That is really what this feels like. Even though it's not even really a superhero movie, because I'm going to say it, Jaime doesn't really do anything heroic. Like, he just happens to get this tech. It's not like he saves anybody. I guess there's a scene where he, like, helps his family towards the end, but realistically, is his family rescuing him when he gets captured? And then, yes, there's a scene where he rescues his sister towards the end. But aside from that, there's no real moment of, like, heroism from him. You know, like Man of Steel, you have that moment in the bus when Superman saves the bus. Spider-Man, just any of the scenes in Spider-Man. You know, when they're like, the moment he gets his powers, he's saving people. You know, he's saving, stopping robbers. He's, saving kids, like, in front of, they're in Spider-Man too, but, in front of a truck. Like, there's no moment of heroism like that from him. He just gets his powers and that's it. You know? Superman 78, he saves Lois in the helicopter. It's like, there's nothing like that in this movie. Like, it's just, he gets his powers and that's kind of it. And that's why I'm like, is this really even a superhero movie? Because he doesn't feel like a superhero. He just kind of only, I guess, well, he has a heart of gold because he's helping his family. But I'm like, is he actually saving people, though? Like the world? Not even the world. Even just the city. Helping somebody out, There could have been a scene like that. You could have done a quick little scene like that, a Blue Beetle. Maybe even just saving a kid or something, in his own neighborhood or something. It's like, holy shit. There's a million things. So basically the story is Jaime comes home, his family's having financial trouble, and they're trying to make it seem like it's the white people that are forcing them out. No, they're having money trouble because whatever reason, house full of adults can't find a job, but okay. It makes no sense. Like, the whole, like, that's what I mean. It's shit like that. They have to, like, really hammer it home. It's the white people pushing them out. Gentrification, immigrant shit, fucking, it's like, bro, I have never, actually, no, I have, but this is up there with, like, some of the most obnoxious messaging I've seen in a movie. Because it's, like, literally every other scene. There has to be some shit like this. Even just a line. Like, so basically, yeah, he gets home, and while this is going on, the Cord Industries, owned now by Victoria Cord, who basically, they find the Scarab, and because of an incident where he steps up for Jenny, he gets fired. Jaime and his sister get fired. But but Jenny gives him a job. But while this happens, Jenny steals the Scarab, gives it to Jaime, and then basically he gets the tech. And I'll say this. The CGI isn't as... Granted, there are some scenes. The final fight, I would definitely say it looks like absolute shit. But, like, there are parts where the CGI isn't, like, horrible. Especially for its budget. Like, I'll be honest, this looks better than The Flash. I wasn't like, okay, I can at least look at this movie. The Flash, I couldn't even look at times. But like I was saying, like there's no moment of heroism. Even his like no kill rule, which he has, makes no sense. Because I was thinking this the whole time, like, where does it come from? Even if you could say, oh, the character always has it, but I'm like, you still gotta show why they have it. Batman's comes from he doesn't want to be like Joe Chill. Superman's is more because of how he was raised by the Kents and his morality. There's always a reason somewhat for their no kill rule. This doesn't make sense. Because if you've been real, Jaime should probably kill him. Like, yeah, dude, these dudes, these like there's a scene where like a bunch of like Cord Industries people, this is where after basically I call it the ice raid. Um like they have the guns on Jaime's family, and Jaime's family gets ready to protect him. And he's like tells the AI, "Oh, put the gun away," because initially he has like a gun, but then he tells the AI to switch to a different weapon, and it's like, why? You don't actually have a reason. Even just like you could have did something like he's a big Batman fan, and he knows Batman has a no kill rule. Maybe that's why he has it. But this just feels like reeks of super. This is another AI superhero movie moment where it's like, oh, because superheroes have to have a no kill rule, so we have to have one, even though arguably his doesn't really come from anything. There's no actual reason why he has it. So it just makes no sense at times. And then the scene later where the fucking suit tells him to not kill people when he's about to kill the main bad guy in the OMAC suit. I can't Carapax, some shit like that. And it's like, what? Why all of a sudden, even though the suit was like ready for this motherfucker to kill, all like earlier there was it was nothing in this movie feels earned either. If I had to say one positive, I do like Miguel. Zola, I can't pronounce his actual name, so I'm just gonna call him Miguel from Cobra Kai. I do like him. At least he tried. Granted, he did just feel like he was playing Miguel from Cobra Kai, but that's not necessarily a negative. But so, and him and Jenny actually had chemistry. I will say that they felt like a real couple, and it was just kind of nice to see a relationship where it was just kind of nice and they actually liked each other, not some weird she's talking down to him like a lot of kind of quote unquote love stories are these days. So, but his family was obnoxious. The dad was okay. I guess he was like dad and mom. I'll say they're okay of the family, but everyone else I did not like. The grandma was okay, but why would you put your grandma on a battlefield? Like, there's a scene later where when they go to save Jaime, why would they take grandma? Just so, oh, we can funny, we have a grandma with a light machine gun, or like a chain gun, basically, in the end. But it's like, realistically, why would you put your grandma in that kind of situation? That, realistically, you would have her stay home so she doesn't get hurt, because she's not like in some protective suit. It's so bad. Yeah, everything about this movie. It's not the worst movie in the world. Like, it's better than The Flash, and I don't know what I would say is if Shazam 2 is better or this is. I don't know. I would maybe say Shazam 2 because Shazam 2 didn't have obnoxious messaging. Shazam 2 wasn't good, but at least there wasn't obnoxious messaging in it. And Lucy Liu, at least I got to look at in that movie. This movie was that, and then just was AI generated superhero movie. So it's mix of obnoxious messaging and just very literally. That's why I call this movie. This movie has no identity because it's not its own movie. It's a billion other superhero movies just crammed together. Like it's like AI wrote a superhero movie, took plots basically from other superhero stuff and put it in this, and that's what this was. So when you do that, it just makes me want to watch those movies because it's like, okay, this just looks like Iron Man. This just looks like Spider-Man, And people could try to say, well, that's the character, but I'm like, the character at least you could have still made him like somewhat stand out instead of just like literally all his tech feels like Iron Man tech mixed with like Ant-Man mixed with Spider-Man. Like they're like all put together. That's how bad this is. Definitely not gonna watch it again. I initially gave it a 4, but the final act makes it worse. So I put it down to a 3. Um, and it's the messaging is literally obnoxious. It's like every scene they have to hit it over you. Like it's it's so bad. Ugh. Like this scene, like there's a scene where George talks like, oh, like you know, cause, I think Jaime suggests they go to cops or something. And fucking Rudy was like, "Oh, don't go to cop. They just like to arrest Mexicans." Basically, I'm ad libbing it a little bit, but that's essentially the line. It's like, oh my god, like every other scene almost, it is like that. They have to have a scene like that. Even like fucking Victoria Cord getting the guy who works for Sanchez's name wrong. Sanchez is not a fucking hard name to pronounce, but no, we gotta have her just get the name wrong because wait, he's a big white woman. She can't pronounce the Mexican guy's name right. Even though realistically, if you're blatantly getting someone's name wrong, you're just doing it as an asshole. At that point, you know how it's pronounced. Sanchez isn't some fucking impossible name to pronounce, dude. It is, oh god, like it's shit like that. It makes the movie frustrating because it's like if you're just an AI generated movie, fine, okay, you're not good, but I can kind of get over that. But the obnoxious messaging is like the sledgehammer, man, being beaten with a sledgehammer. It's like holy shit, we get it. Ugh. Anyway, yeah, this is not as bad as the Flash or um but it is not good. And definitely will be forgotten. I'm not shocked this is flopping, and then the director wants to wonder maybe you don't throw maybe you don't call Batman a fascist in your movie, and at least make the joke funny. You like I said, you would have been better off if you just had Rudy say Batman's a fucking was gay. Maybe not obviously you don't call him a fucking British cigarette, but basically just call him gay because like Batman's been called gay before, just been a joke, and have it be Rudy's more of a Blue Beetle fan. That's basically what that joke was supposed to do. It was supposed to prop up Blue Beetle, Ted Kord's Blue Beetle, and downgrade Batman, but you called him a fascist. Okay, dude, it was so bad. You had a better setup if you just called him gay, you know even make fun of, like, I don't know, that he has a Robin or something. Like, actually, that could have been funny if you executed that right. You know? I don't know. Like, yeah, like he has a boy wonder or something. Like, make a joke like that. And I can kind of laugh at it. But no, you went with the fascist thing. Because that, basically, you're telling me what you actually think of the character. So, yeah. But then they wanted to put that shit in the trailer. That's like even the worst part. It'd been one thing if you just had it in the movie, but you had to put it in the trailer. Anyway, guys, let's get to the review because I've been talking. I've been talking for like 18 minutes and I haven't even gotten into the actual story yet. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Blue Beetle. The soundtrack was annoying too. Like it was very just random. It felt like let's just get a random couple of songs, including Cypress Hill. Wow, I love Cypress Hill. I didn't even was like, oh, okay, Cypress Hill. But tomorrow, hopefully, I'll be reviewing a better movie in Voyage of the Meter. So I'll be trying to watch that tomorrow. But yeah, holy shit! Just the movie's messaging. I'm just gonna say it again. It is obnoxious. Like that's the word I'm thinking of right now. Obnoxious. It is like, holy shit. They have to browbeat it in you. It's like every other fucking scene. Like it was. And it sucks because it wasn't really coming from Jaime. It was from everybody else. Like his sister, who, oh my god, she is easily one of the worst characters. Like that scene when she goes into Victoria Cord's like house, or I'm assuming house, and and she's like, I'm gonna use her bathroom because I deserve to use a good bath. I'm like, holy shit, dude. Hollywood, what is up with your like love for entitled characters, and they don't get any like repercussions from that? She basically just cost Jaime his job, and we're just supposed to be okay with that. There's not even really a moment she's like, "Hey, Jaime, I fucked up. I cost you your job." There's not really a moment like that. She just gets away with it. Like that's the current kind of writing we get now. where just you do shitty things like that and you just get away with it. It's because it's, I guess, not seen as shitty. Ugh, anyway, let's get started, guys. Tomorrow, last voyage of the Demeter review, or should be. If not, then I'll for sure it'll be this week. Anyway, guys. So Victoria and her people find the scarab, whatever. Which the scarab, that's the other thing. They don't really explain what the scarab is. It feels like a MacGuffin. It's another one of those where it's just this thing. Granted, it's a case the heroes already have it, but it's a case where the bad guys want it, and don't really show you why it's important. The only thing is, though, that we want it because she wants it for her OMAC thing. Which I guess they're these, like, group of robots. God, there's, like, no real explanation on what the OMAC is. You just kind of are just told it's this thing that the bad guy wanted, that Victoria wants to build. So this is where we're introduced to Jaime and his family, basically, because his dad lost his job, are about to lose the house. And they have to really, like I said, they browbeat it into you. It's because white people, mean old white people are moving in and, demanding they all, pay rent, Or, even the scene later, there's a scene later where they talk about, like, when Jenny, like, oh, because her company's been seen as, like, oh, we just take from people, and it's like, oh my God, it is, like, holy shit. Very anti-capitalist, too. I'm kind of, sorry, excuse me. I'm so tired of this shit in movies. Motherfuckers, you're trying to make motherfuckers pay for your movie. If you want to be a real commie, make your movies free then, bitch. Stop this shit. Stop this, like, we're going to put this anti-capitalist message in our movie, even though we want you to pay for said movie. You want people to give their money to your shitty movie, but then you want to then shit on that same fucking form that's actually making your shit possible. It's so weird. Like, holy shit, this is like another movie, like, at least this year, there's like been like a million this year where I feel like that's been a theme. This weird, like, anti-capitalist message in movies now. So, because that's basically kind of what it is. Like, it kind of shits on capitalism because, like, core industries, you take from the little man. And then, obviously they had that race element to it too. So it's just, holy shit, man. Anyway, Jaime gets home and him and his sister get jobs. I don't remember her fucking name, so I'm just going to call her his sister. And one day while they were working, they see, this is the scene I was talking about where they see Victoria, and Jaime said hi, and, and she obviously blew him off because she was on the fucking phone. I'm not defending the character, but it's like, they were trying to, because his sister says something like, oh, she doesn't talk to people like us, essentially trying to make it like it's, oh, because Hispanic. It's like, how many face palms I did. It's because it's like every other scene. They have to have some shit like that. Because even the next scene, her and Jenny get into it. And then, they talk about her father, right? Which, the whole Ted Cord name drops were so cringe, I'm going to be honest. It felt like forced so-called, like, honor. Because they're trying to make it seem like, oh, we're honoring Ted Cord. We name drop Ted Cord because we actually love the character. But it's like, part of me is also like, why didn't you just make it Ted Cord then? If you want to have all these fucking callbacks to Ted Cord, even with his tech, then it's like, why not then just have Ted Cord be Blue Beetle instead of Jaime? Or even do a thing where Ted Cord have Ted Cord in the fucking movie, and you do something like, where, you know what, maybe he's on his way out, and that's when you do Jaime as Blue Beetle. Or you have them both be Blue Beetle, like a mentor. Holy shit, Hollywood. Fucking hire me. Because, dude, do that movie. That would have been kind of cool, like a somewhat, maybe not buddy cop, but like, mentor student movie where Jaime's being taught by Ted Kord's Blue Beetle. That could have been your fucking movie. But anyway. Because it's just, all the callbacks to Ted Kord don't make sense. It feels forced. It feels like, guys, member berries, guys, member berries. Remember Ted Kord? Member? Like, ugh. It's like, so, he then goes, he gets fired because he tries to step up for Jenny. So he ends up losing his job. Him and his sister lose their jobs. But Jenny says, hey, I'll give you a job opportunity. So, and this is where, like, when Victoria tells him to leave, she says, like, andale. It's like little shit like that. It's like, oh my god, a movie. It's like, it's like a quota. They have to have those scenes. So Jaime goes to his interview, and his family, like I said, are annoying. I was even thinking this when I was watching it. I didn't feel like he had any chemistry with his actual family. The only character I felt like he had any actual I'll say it, chemistry with was Jenny. Aside from her, he didn't really have chemistry with anybody. He should have maybe had a group of friends. I think that was the other thing I felt like this movie was missing. He needed like a group of friends or something. Or a friend. There needed to be a buffer between him and his fucking family. Not just Jenny. There needed to be something else. Because, I'm sorry, when it's Jaime with his family, it is so bad. Because it's like, fucking Miguel's trying to carry. Like, Jaime is clearly trying to carry. Zolo, I think is his name. Zolo's trying to carry, but it's like he can't because he's stuck with his shitty family who just are, a lot of them, in my opinion, I'm going to say it, bad acting. I would have been fine if it was just his dad and his mom and his grandma, and he had been like an only child. I would have been fine with that. He had been an only child, and it just been those three. You didn't really need Uncle Rudy. Because Rudy was just there because Deus Ex Machina, he knows tech. And he's supposed to be like the weird, like, because basically they're trying to go for, like, he's like a conspiracy guy, but they mix with, like, he's basically a race beard. That's his character. I'm sorry. He just constantly whinges, like, I'm oppressed and all this shit. And, like, he's supposed to be, like, the paranoid character, which can work. Fucking Dale from King of the Hill. Like, you could make a character like that work, but you gotta make him likable. And I just feel like Rudy wasn't. And I like George, not as a person, but I liked George Lopez in stuff before. I liked the George Lopez show. And I think at one point he could have, but he was funny. But I just feel like he was trying too hard to be funny in this. He was trying too hard to be funny, and his character just in general is just annoying and unlikable. So it's just those two things didn't help. And unfortunately, we got a lot more scenes with him and Jaime and Rudy, instead of fucking Jaime and his dad. Like, I felt like there was like one scene he had with his dad. Now, I admit, that scene was actually not bad. So, like, his dad was fine. I think if it was just him and his dad, that would have worked better, because Rudy was not needed. He was just there because, he knows somewhat tech, because when they break into Kord Industries. So anyway, Miguel goes for, I keep saying Miguel, because that's basically who he's playing in this, but like very watered down and not written as well. Because I do think Zolo's a good actor. I mean, I've seen him in Cobra Kai. He's really fucking good. Especially in season 4. He had some really good moments in season 4. So it's like, it's not necessarily he's a bad actor. I just think that he didn't really have anything to work with in this movie. So he goes to his interview, but Jenny, this is the scene I was talking about, what the fucking, she assumed, because the secretary basically assumes he's a fucking delivery, because, he's Mexican, guys. He must be delivery, even though he doesn't have a fucking package. He's in a suit. It's like, no one would do this. It's like, they have to, it's just like the movie has to have that in there. But anyway, while he's waiting, Jenny steals the scarab and puts it in like a burger box which is kind of cringe, to be honest. It's like, what the fuck? Why is she putting it in a burger box? And yeah, so she pawns it off to Jaime, and obviously his family takes it, which basically, if you think about it, his family's kind of the one who kind of forced all this shit on him, because they're the ones who like told him to open it and all. Like this scene is probably one of the worst scenes with his family. Like, I just was just, oh my god, they were bad, man. And this is why I was saying he needed like a group of friends, because maybe you could have had this scene where he runs to his friends instead of his family. That would have worked better. He at least a buddy, even a friend. You didn't have to necessarily be a group. It could have just been one friend, like a best friend he's known for a long time or something. And then, so yeah, this is where he gets the suit put on him, which I'll admit, it didn't look horrible, like when he the first got the suit put on him. And that was the other problem with this movie, was just how much the soundtrack was so forced. Everything about this movie was. And this is where we get the quote, basically the training scene where he, first starts using his powers, even though it's basically using it for, he cuts a fucking bus in half. I was thinking, bro, are you just gonna acknowledge he would have killed somebody on that, by the way. Slicing a bus in half. And a lot of times there are people who stand on the bus. So it's like, okay. So there are people who stand on the bus. Those people are dead as shit. So he just casually kills people. And we're not going to acknowledge that. But anyway, it was so, like, the whole scene was cringy. When he was using his tech. And I was just like, holy shit, this is just Iron Man. This is just, like, that's why I really am going to really harp on that this movie has no identity, because it can't stand on its own when you just are that derivative. Like if I was that good and I could edit, I would put in like the clip from Austin Powers where his fucking Scotty's like, rip off! Like that's what this is. That's really what this movie is. It really is just a rip off. A bad one at that. Because like, going back to, there's not a moment of heroism from Miguel. I keep saying Miguel, but from Jaime, there really isn't. Like, there's not a moment he actually does some superhero shit. He stands up for his family. I guess some people will say, oh, that's his moment. But I'm like, you should kind of already do that because that's your family. That should just be inherent. Like, almost should just be like instinct. That's the word I was thinking of. Yeah, you should be instinct. That doesn't, to me, like, there's not a moment he just is doing something good just because it's good. Like I said, Spider-Man, you have him like, helping the local city in Spider-Man 1. In Man of Steel, even though just the start of the movie, when he saves the people in that fucking tanker, or the oil thing. You save people in that, the kids on the bus. He has those moments of heroism. Superman 78, when he saves Lois, when he even saving the cat from a tree. I'm not saying he has to do things like that, but there's not a moment like that for Miguel. I don't know. I just felt like there wasn't enough moments like that. What if Miguel, what? Maybe his area is a big, but obviously maybe they don't want to touch on that shit because, we can't talk about, gang shit in movies. So why not? Maybe like, yeah, you have fucking Blue Beetle beat up the local gang or something. You know what? Beat up the local gang that's fucking with the neighborhood. Or he stops a robber. Like, even just that. You have a robber steal from, like, a grandma or something. Fucking hell. Not his grandma, but, like, a random grandma. Somebody's grandma. And he fucking helps them. Like, even something like that. There wasn't a moment like that. He doesn't... This is why it's hard to even call this a superhero movie. Because you're just, like, a guy who just happened to get cool tech. And he only uses it because he has to help his family. Because... that's, I guess, his instinct, but that's not necessarily, is that inherent? I mean, I guess to an extent that can be heroic, but Real heroism is you're helping people that aren't your family. You're helping just normal everyday people that aren't even just related to you. That's supposed to be heroism like that. And that's the kind of heroism I'm talking about. Miguel doesn't really have I keep saying Miguel, but Jaime doesn't have that. He really doesn't. And I know why I keep calling him Miguel, because he basically played Miguel, and it's not his fault. He's Miguel without direction. Because there's no actual direction for his character to go. There's not an act, like, even his whole no kill rule is arbitrary. It's only there because it's like, oh, he's a superhero. You gotta have a no kill rule. Not because it comes from an actual source. That's why I was even throughout the film. I'm gonna say this. I was talking about that. I'm like, why does he have a no kill rule? You really doesn't make any sense. These guys who have guns on your family, why do you have obligation to be like, no, we're not killing them? Why? You don't have a no kill rule because, maybe your father instilled in you. Maybe you have a scene where Jaime is bullied or something. Maybe even as a kid, and he nearly killed a kid or something. Like, or he beat the kid badly to a point where maybe he almost died. And his father instilled him, no, you can't be as bad as them. Something. Holy shit. Have his no kill rule at least make sense and come from somewhere. Not just because it has to be there, because we gotta fill a checkbox, because this is supposed to be an AI superhero movie, so we just gotta fill that checkbox of no kill rule, even though it doesn't actually make sense here. Because there's so many moments, like, when he wants to use, like, his weapon, like a gun or something, like, the AI wants to use the AI voice wants to use, like, a gun or something, like a blade that could kill, and he's like, no, change it, because I don't want to kill. It doesn't make any sense. It's so arbitrary. So he ends up meeting up with Jenny. He tells her about, like, how the suit's attached to him now. He takes her back to the family. Obviously the family's initially like doesn't trust her because they think she's like, I mean, this is where Rudy was really annoying and harping on, oh, what are they gonna think when a Mexican kid has all this tech? I'm like, you mean, what about this kid in general, race irrelevant, who has this cool tech that they just stole from them? That should be the issue, but no, they had to mention Mexican. It's like, oh my god, I know I'm harping on messaging, but it is obnoxious. It's hard not to, because it's like every other scene, they're throwing some line like that. Like, no, because if he was white, let's say this been Ted Cord instead of Jaime, those people would have still gone after me because he has the thing they fucking want. It doesn't matter. White, Mexican, black, doesn't matter. They took the tech they have. They fucking want. Oh my god, it's how frustrating this is, because it's just like they have to. Ugh. But so yeah, they decide they have to break into Decord Industries and steal something or whatever. I'll be honest, I didn't give a fuck at this point. And they took Rudy because he knows how to. He has this thing that can basically jam signals and all this shit. So basically, that's why. This is where we first see the OMAC in action, because Sarah Pox ends up getting punched out by Jaime initially. And then this is where we get just the generic action where we see the bad guy villain who basically has similar powers to the hero initially take it to, and there's a line like he thinks family is weak, whatever. So Rudy bails him out, manages to save Jaime. They go back to the house, and this is where they go to Ted Cord's house. And I'll admit, this scene was actually probably the best scene in the movie for me, where is Jaime and her talking, and she's telling him about her life. And actually, I'm like, okay, this actually felt like a real genuine scene. They actually have some really good chemistry together. You buy them as a couple, like, it's like, okay. So I'll give this movie that. Like that's probably my only positive is that they at least felt like they had chemistry, and she actually did feel like she liked him. It wasn't just forced. And like this actually feels like a comic, like a love story that you would see in like an old school comic book movie. I'm like, you know what? It's kind of nice seeing that. So I'll say that. That's like my only positive. This is probably the only genuinely well done scene. But the Ted Cord cameo, this is where we get the cringy Batman's fascist line. And like I said, it's even worse in context. And while this goes on, because initially they think, well, because Jenny mentions like, oh, they won't find us here. But then, yeah, this is when Jenny Cord and her people arrive. They arrive at fucking Jaime's house because they're looking for the scarab. And this is the scene I was talking about where it basically was made to look like a fucking ice raid. And, like, oh my, like, even the way they break, like, her people break in the house, they have, like, fucking cameras on. You got the family looking all scared and sad. And it's like, bro. And, like, if I were, granted, they had like masks on, but you could still tell a lot of her men were white. Notice, even though you're telling me that there's not one black guy who works for her, or even even a fucking Mexican that works for her either. Even though there's the guy Sanchez, it's like there'd be a couple of them, but no. We have to make them all white because we got to really harp on this white oppressors in this movie, and it is cringe. It is like it. So I said the messaging is obnoxious. Like this scene is meant to look like an ice raid. That's clearly what they were fucking going for. So Jaime saves his family. This is where that scene I was talking about, where initially the AI puts like a gun to use, but he switches it to a thing, even though it's like, why aren't you killing these guys? These guys were about to slaughter your family. They had like all their, because Victoria tells her men to put the guns on her family because basically they even have that fucking shitty moment where, like, you remember Spider-Man, like I brought funny because I reviewed Spider-Man 2 the same day. Spider-Man 2, you have Peter losing his powers. There's moments like that where sometimes the the scarab doesn't work, or it has to be triggered because of like he can't just use it at will, even though it's so inconsistent because there are times he can just use it at will, and then there are times he can't. Like there's a moment he loses his powers. So it's like, yeah, let's just copy Spider-Man 1 and 2. It's not even just 1. They copied Spider-Man 2. It's like this, they literally just went like a bunch of other superhero movies. Because even, like, and I'm getting to the final fight. So yeah, Jaime takes out the guys, but while this happens, Serapok shoots like this tech that basically incapacitates Jaime, and he can't like use the powers, so he ends up getting captured. They also burn the house down, so let's also add that extra, fucking layer of, oh, they burned their house down. It is so bad. Like, yeah, so Jaime's captured, and and this is where I was talking about, like, just Susan Sarandon did not give a fuck. Every scene where she's just talking, it's just like, you clearly could just tell she's just rushing through her dialogue just so she could be done and get her paycheck. She was just ready to be done. Like, there wasn't it didn't even, it really doesn't feel like she tried, if I'm being honest. She, was just there for a paycheck, which, hey, you know what? I don't fucking blame her. I'm not mad at her for that. If I'm being honest, if I was forced to be in this movie and play this character who there's nothing more to a character than just she wants power because I guess patriarchy, I don't know. Like they don't really ever go, and she doesn't have any actual character to, build up. Because I've seen Susan Sarandon in other movies, and she is a good actor. Granted, she is losing her touch. But yeah, she is so bad in this. Like every scene, And granted, it makes sense why she's bad in this, because she just doesn't give a fuck, clearly. Like, she just wanted the paycheck, which, like I said, nothing really wrong with that. I get it. Because there's not really anything to build off of with their character in this movie. So, this is where Jenny takes the family to that house, and they get a Ted Kord's tech, and basically the family gets ready to save Jaime, which is just cringy. And I was just thinking, like, why are they taking Grandma to the battle? Why wouldn't they leave her somewhere safe? And I mean, I know why, because they had to have that scene. Oh, Grandma's badass too. There's even that, like, it's later, but she saves Jaime, and she uses that, like, fucking light. It's like a, not light machine gun, but like a like a minigun, basically. It's so cringy. It's like, even though it just wouldn't make sense. Why would they put their grandma in a position like that? So yeah, they go save Jaime. While this happens, Jaime, this is where we get that scene where basically he has an acid trip, is what I'm gonna fucking call it. He has, like, it's basically an acid trip, and he talks to his dad in the scarab, which I guess the scarab takes form of his dad. I don't fucking know. They don't explain. It's so, I was just like, okay, what's going on? So basically, yeah, because his dad dies of a heart attack while